So Adam Silver is letting it be known he's not playing games. He gave y'all the date in which y'all need to sign and get this thing underway. Y'all keep sending this back, then they're sending that back. The one thing they are not doing is they're not moving off of the 15% revenue share. And y'all keep throwing all these ridiculous numbers out. Y'all went from 27 and a half to 26, like that was going to do something. It's been ridiculous, and Adam Silver is done playing games with y'all. Take a look at this.
The biggest mistake any negotiating party can make is misunderstanding its true leverage. When you walk into a boardroom, you need a clear, realistic understanding of how much influence you actually have with the people on the other side of the table. If you believe you're indispensable, but the other side views you as only a small part of a much larger system, you risk losing ground quickly. For the past year and a half, critics argue that the Women's National Basketball Players Association has approached negotiations with a belief that its pressure campaigns and strike threats could force major concessions from league leadership. Their proposals reportedly included a larger share of league revenue and broader structural changes within the Women's National Basketball Association. However, the league's leadership, connected closely to the broader business structure of the National Basketball Association, has remained largely steady in its public response. Adam Silver, who oversees the NBA's global operations, has continued focusing on much larger business challenges affecting the basketball ecosystem as a whole. One of the biggest issues currently facing the NBA involves the collapse of the regional sports network model. For decades, these networks paid billions for the rights to broadcast local NBA games. But that system has been under severe financial pressure, especially with companies like Diamond Sports Group entering bankruptcy and the entire local television revenue structure beginning to shift. For league leadership, this represents a major corporate challenge affecting billions in media revenue and the long-term distribution of NBA games. Compared to that scale, some observers argue that the financial debates within the WNBA's labor negotiations are relatively small pieces of a much larger global sports business puzzle. Understanding that broader context helps explain the dynamic at the negotiating table. One side focused on improving compensation and structure within the WNBA, and the other managing an international sports enterprise dealing with massive media, broadcasting, and infrastructure changes at the same time.
Those sources said the league is in talks with YouTube TV, DAZN, Amazon, and ESPN, and potentially others about housing local games for an aggregate of teams, perhaps similar to an NFL Sunday ticket.
Sources say the league is currently in discussions with major media and technology companies, including YouTube TV, Amazon, and ESPN, about a potential system for hosting local NBA broadcasts. The concept reportedly resembles something like NFL Sunday Ticket, where fans could access games through a centralized national streaming platform. If implemented, such a model could fundamentally reshape how live basketball is distributed and consumed. This is the level of corporate strategy currently occupying the attention of Adam Silver. As commissioner of the National Basketball Association, Silver is negotiating the future of the league's media ecosystem with some of the largest technology and media companies in the world. The potential deals involve billions of dollars in future revenue and could redefine how fans access local games for decades to come. At the same time, negotiations involving the Women's National Basketball Association and the Women's National Basketball Players Association are unfolding in the background. Some observers argue that because the NBA leadership is focused on massive media infrastructure challenges, such as the collapse of regional sports networks and the search for new distribution models, WNBA labor negotiations may not be receiving the same level of urgency or attention. Reports suggest the league has already presented a proposal that includes baseline salary increases and a revenue-sharing framework. Rather than engaging in prolonged public debate over demands, such as larger revenue percentages, the ownership side has largely kept negotiations quiet and measured. In corporate negotiations, this type of restrained response can sometimes function as a strategic approach, signaling that leadership is focused on long-term structural decisions rather than reacting publicly to every demand. For critics of the current labor dispute, this dynamic illustrates a stark imbalance in priorities. On one side, players advocating for a larger share of league revenue. On the other, league executives navigating multi-billion-dollar media transitions involving global technology partners. Understanding that difference in scale helps explain why the negotiations have unfolded the way they have, and why the outcome may ultimately depend on broader economic realities shaping professional sports today.
First of all, like this is part of it. It's not pretty. It's not sweet. They're not sending each other muffin baskets and roses and flowers.
Right.
Like these are gangster tactics.
is-
And the league absolutely put them 6 weeks out.
The situation has become increasingly tense, and by many accounts, the negotiations are far from cordial. In high-stakes labor disputes, discussions rarely resemble polite exchanges. They are strategic, calculated, and often ruthless. Observers say the league's approach over the past several weeks reflects exactly that kind of hard-nosed negotiating style. Reports suggest that leadership connected to the Women's National Basketball Association allowed weeks to pass with little public response to proposals from the Women's National Basketball Players Association. In labor negotiations, extended silence can function as a powerful tactic. When one side pauses communication for long stretches, it can create uncertainty and pressure within the opposing group, especially as deadlines draw closer. For many WNBA players, the stakes are significant. A large portion of the league enters free agency without guaranteed contracts each offseason, meaning future income can depend heavily on how negotiations unfold. As the reported March 10th deadline approaches, that uncertainty naturally creates anxiety among players who must think about everyday financial responsibilities and the possibility of a delayed or disrupted season. Analysts say this type of pressure can sometimes lead to internal strain within a union. When time is limited and financial uncertainty grows, different groups within an organization may begin advocating for different strategies, some pushing to hold firm, while others may prefer compromise to secure stability. That dynamic can make maintaining a unified public message increasingly difficult. Recent public comments and media appearances from players and union representatives have reflected some of that tension. While leadership continues to emphasize solidarity, critics argue that the messaging has appeared inconsistent at times, fueling speculation about internal disagreements within the players' ranks. In many labor disputes across professional sports, this phase, when deadlines approach and both sides test each other's resolve, is often the most volatile. Whether negotiations ultimately result in compromise or escalation will likely depend on how both the league and the players' union navigate the pressure in the days ahead.
Want to do it, but we will. Don't play with us.
Right.
Okay. Very different from what we heard from Kelsey Plum and Breanna Stewart out of their mouths to the media, where they were starting to position the offers from the leagues as wins and victories.
Recent media appearances by players have added another layer to the debate. Comments from Kelsey Plum and Breanna Stewart sounded noticeably different from the earlier tone coming from union leadership. In interviews, both players appeared to frame parts of the league's proposal as meaningful progress, even suggesting that certain elements of the offer could be viewed as positive steps for players. That messaging contrasts with the more hardline stance voiced by other veterans. For example, Alicia Clark publicly emphasized that stronger actions, such as a strike, should remain an option, reinforcing the union's earlier, more militant negotiating posture. The difference in tone between these public statements has led some observers to speculate that players within the Women's National Basketball Players Association may be weighing different strategies as negotiations move closer to key deadlines.